All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Orioles series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff regarding this team. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored, you're just being starred throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reaction after every single regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly post-game. For those of you listening on audio, make sure to follow us on all of your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day of recorded. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 151 of our show. And Frank, welcome back. I think you've missed about a week of podcast content, obviously. I've had to go solo. And obviously it was the nonstop talking for me. So I had a little bit of voice recovery the next day. But other than that, obviously, from what you've missed, not the best series to come back on, but let's just say getting close to that all-star break, getting close to a checkpoint, and hopefully they can survive it. That's all I'm hoping as of right now.
Yeah, trying to survive is the key. You've had just a ton of rain lately. It was a big factor in this game as well. And the rain before these games have also contributed to the Mets pitching just being totally worn out. Using a ton of arms, having rain delays, rain outs, double headers. I mean, all these things combined have just led to absolute chaos. You know, they say April showers bring May flowers. Well, July showers bring Frank rage because this many games. I mean, we have a rain delay tonight in tonight's game. So like it just
Possibly.
never ends. They could be in New York. They could be in Baltimore, they could be in Kansas City. Wherever the Mets go, the rain follows them. So it's just like they can't miss it right now. So it has been very frustrating when you already know the status of the pitching staff. And to have this just be another thing to add on to it, it's just not doing them any favors when they already had a bunch of guys out to begin with. Slowly but surely, they're getting back. That starts tonight with Kodai Senga. But overall, it has just had this trickle-down effect of just, like we've seen these bullpen games, overusage, trying to be cute. I mean, we'll get to the managing later, but I mean, it's just had such a big impact, and it's something that you don't have a stat for it. You don't say, oh well, it's this player's fault, it's that player's fault. Oh, in the off season you could have prepared for this. Like, no, I mean, it's just one of those things. It happens some years more than others, but right now they're in a bad spot with the weather.
Yeah, I think that there's really a feeling among Mets fans, especially at this last week. And it's obviously there's certain scenarios where we're like, okay, why are we doing this? Why is this a decision that is being made when other options can be pursued? But they're in a really tough situation where they don't really have many options to pivot to. And I really end up asking a lot of Mets fans who like to play the GM of side of things, saying, well, what exactly are we going to do? Like, what exactly is going to be the pivot as of right now in the middle of July or the first week of July? Or like, what exactly are they going to do that is going to actually be a practical thought of this team actually going forward and could help them out going forward? I know a lot of people have been pushing to bring up pitching prospects and bring up people from the minors. Unfortunately, I'm more on the side of the fact that the timing as of right now just does not make sense. And I know that people will get pissed off and say that they've punted games and they should be putting these guys out there. But in terms of the sustainability, in terms of the pitching prospects, I mean, there's not really much that you can do as of right now when you're sitting here in a panic and in a need for arms just to survive to a certain checkpoint of the season. They obviously have 3 more games to go until the All-Star break, so that's one of the checkpoints. And then the next one is the trade deadline, and that is what's going to have to be addressed. Getting Senga and Minaya back, that is big. We will see if it holds up, because again, that's a different thing. But is it possible to prepare with depth for what the Mets have experienced right now with pitching injuries? Absolutely not. It's nearly impossible. Blackburn, Canning, Minaya has been out all year. At least he's coming back this week. McGill is out. Scott out for the season. We already knew that. Budo, Kranick, Nunez, Minter. I mean, all of them dead, gone. Like they're not even available. I don't even know what the hell's happening with Jose Budo. We don't even have an update on him. I don't know if he like, was rolling around like with a pig in shit or something, but he has some kind of illness that was not disclosed. So they're in a lot of these situations where not only is the depth getting hurt, but the depth is getting hurt. And it's really, really hard to sit here and listen to Twitter GMs go over and over again saying, well, we got to do more. We got to add. What are you going to do? What exactly are you going to do? Now, granted, I do expect them to add somebody to the bullpen in the early stages of the trade deadline approaching over in the next week, like a Stanek or a Maton like they did last year. But the starting pitching is not going to come until the last week to the trade deadline. The bats, we'll see what happens there. The relievers usually go first. We will talk about a potential starter that could be in the Mets' sights going forward. But, all we can really do right now is speculate, break things down of how they fit in. But again, there's a lot of panic moves that are just not going to be made by David Stearns. And it also does come with a little bit of pain. And like I have been saying these past few episodes, it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful, some of these games, because they have no other choice. They have no other choice that is practical in the matter, without moving mountains for a certain prospect to be called up that, even for their sake, we have no idea what they're going to do at the major leagues. So is it really worth it to do that at this current moment as a panic move? It's a tough situation that they are in until they reach this trade deadline where they have to address things internally and add externally. And obviously, I've said this already on multiple occasions, I will be disappointed if we're on the same level of trade deadline of last year with Soto on this roster. Right now, I'm letting them deal with what they are dealing with because it is a really tough situation.
I mean, like you said, adding pitching definitely has to be a priority. They need to get more arms in here. They've used 36 pitchers this season so far. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount. We talked about it before, but it's like multiple transactions on the same day. I mean, you'll have like 2 pitchers down, 2 pitchers up, use them that game, send them down. Like, it just goes back and forth. Even a guy will pitch well. Like, we've seen Garcia, like, he pitched pretty good. Yeah. DFA'd. Like, that's just there's been the roster casualties because they had to use him so much. He had to go like almost 3 innings the other day. And while that's definitely been a huge issue with all the injuries, there are ways you could go about that. I mean, one of them is Blackburn had injuries last season, and you pick up the club option. So yeah, I don't love picking up club options of a guy who's already hurt. I think that especially
was it a club option or just arbitration 3?
No, I think he had a club option on. That was one of the big things with we didn't pay for a rental. I think it was like the $6 million or so that we had talked about. That they were able to bring him back. But just overall, I mean, if it was arbitration, if it was that, why would you bring back a guy that was hurt twice in the season? I just feel like go for healthy players. Why are you bringing back hurt players and guys who, when they were on the field for you, they weren't very good? And that has proven true again with Blackburn. He hasn't been good and he's been hurt. So literally the same thing as last year has happened this year. So that's one thing that you probably shouldn't have done. But just overall,
I don't think they expected Blackburn to have that big of a role. That was the thing. Like, he originally was not in their rotation plans.
Well,
like,
when everyone else breaks, all of a sudden you have a big role. I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. Especially with pitching. I mean, that can happen. But The other thing is that even if they do make these moves at the deadline, I'm still pessimistic that Stearns is actually going to make a big move for perhaps a starting pitcher, because you're not going to trade big prospects for relievers. At least you shouldn't do that. I don't care who it is. No. You should not do that. So if he has to be kind of, on the margins, he's not going to get a big time player, just arms. Like you said, you have to get depth. You just have to get guys to eat innings at this point. Even if he does that, that does not solve the scoring 1 run against pitchers with ERAs over 5, scoring 3 runs, leaving a million guys on base, 5 through 9 of your order, giving you close to nothing on a daily basis. That does not solve that. You had Jesse Winker as one of your offensive additions, hurt, comes back for a couple days, hurt. Then you brought in Jose Siri, hurt. Like, it's just like whatever they tried, and we said Marte. Like, I'm surprised he held up as long as he did. I am. Like, you had to go again. You have to go into the season expecting that certain guys are going to spend time on the injury list, and Starling Marte is one of them every single season. And now it's happened. And your other DH, he's also hurt. So it's like they haven't been good offensively even when they were healthy. But now that they have injuries there too, that's where you need to move the prospects. I mean, if you want to go out and get a true center fielder, instead of having McNeil in center field, you need to do that. Like, that is something that would have a much bigger impact than a bullpen arm. And it's like we've talked about, the people who want McLean to get called up, or Tong or Sproat, you have a much better chance of fixing your rotation internally, whereas the hitting with the 5 through 9, there are no solutions internally. Absolutely zero. They've called back Jared Young, who was brutal and needs to get back out of MLB where he was before. They have tried, and they've tried to blame the young players. It was Alvarez's fault, they sent him down. It was Acuna's fault, they sent him down. Vientos is very close to DFA territory because he's bringing literally nothing.
He's out of options.
Table. And again, we'll get to the managing later, but you have Travis Jankowski, who's here to pinch bunt. I didn't know that was a thing. I did not know that you designated roster spots for pinch bunters. That is not supposed to be a position, but the Mets made it up.
I mean, we had a designated walker.
We've had designated walkers. We've had designated runners. I mean, we've had a whole bunch of things, but still, stuff that we talk about roster construction does not help your offense, and they have not been able to figure that out all season.
Yeah, they've been handcuffed to a lot of these situations of guys who are here because of either it is contracts, or there's control, or they're young players with some upside. I mean, I'd say that the young guys for the offensive part, I think it's a little bit part of it, but however, there still has been some inconsistency from the top of the order of coming through with runners in scoring position. We've talked about, guys like Brandon Nimmo at the beginning of the year was not doing well in those situations. He's done a lot better recently. He seems to be back into the swing. Juan Soto, as great as he is, as everybody's pushing for him to be in the All-Star game, he's been terrible with runners in scoring position as the overall run getter, the overall run producer. I shouldn't say getter. Francisco Lindor in and out with runners in scoring position all year, and he's been struggling recently. The main constant has been Pete Alonso, who's been good with runners in scoring position, but he's also had quite a few of these stretches where he can't cash guys in, and he was chasing a lot of garbage in the other batter's box, which we were seeing a lot last year. So we're just seeing a lot of inconsistency, and then we're also seeing a lot of non-existence, which I was talking about in the game 1 that I had to fill in for you, as to where everybody got so upset about them pulling Peterson and bringing in Stanek and doing that. 1 run on the board. Can't win like that. Like, I don't care. Like, I really don't care. I don't care if you want to fire Mendoza. Stearns didn't give you enough bullpen arms, or this guy should be in here and the rotation sucks and they shouldn't have brought this. You can't win with one run on the board. And the main reason as to why I blame that second game on the offense, because they have done it all year long. This has been all year. So how can I just say, oh, well, in this case, 1 run on the board against a 41-year-old Charlie Morton, who is on the downswing of his career. We know he is. He's been okay recently, so I guess that's the way we can use the excuse. The last 4 starts, he's been good.
Once a Brave, always a Brave.
But he's been atrocious. Yeah, but, again, turning back the clock, I guess, from when he was a Brave, just completely annihilating us. So, I guess we can all use excuses in that point for the most expensive part of the team. So, again, forgive me if I am sitting here with an offense that has been relatively fully healthy all year, and I'm placing a lot of the blame on them. Forgive me of that, because it's the most expensive part of the team, because that's what the team is built around. With the pitching, it was never built around pitching. We knew that it was going to be a group collaborative effort. It was one of the best in all of baseball to start off these first two months. So it was definitely overperforming, and it definitely was due to regress. But then you also add on the, 16 pitching injuries they have had in a half of a season. I mean, what else do you expect? What else do you expect? Who's available that can make a start in a practical way over Justin Hagenman right now? Or Brandon Waddell? They don't have a choice. I'm not saying they're good. I think they're far from good. I think they're barely major leaguers. But what other choice do we have? What other choice do we have? And hopefully we have more choices now when you have Senga and Minaya coming back, which is the main reason as to why, for a temporary time, those spot starts are whatever. It's whatever. They're going to have to throw it away, and the bullpen and the offense was going to have to carry. Like I said, the entirety of the time, when that offense did not carry in those last two games, they lost. They lost. Again, the offense was going to have to carry the weight that they weren't able to pull for so long. So, again, the pitching is in such a rough place right now that it's nearly impossible to be surprised. How is anybody surprised? Anyone. And it's not of just like, oh, well, Stearns built a weak rotation. That weak rotation, all of them are dead. They're all hurt. They're all gone. They're not available. So you're dipping into the depth. What else can you do? You're going to, sign somebody off the street, make a trade in the middle of June? Like, it's not going to happen. It's nearly impossible. That's what I mean. It's like, it's the predicament that you are in. It's not a good one, and I will never say it is a good one, but there's nothing they can do. Like, they're literally in a situation where you're gonna just rage trade for somebody right now? Like, who is going to be available? Who is going to be made available at this current time? We're getting close. We are getting close, and I think that bullpen arms are going to start to get moved in this next week. But there's still a decent amount of games to go. Some teams don't even know if they're selling yet. So, like, how's that gonna happen? I mean, I don't know how. I don't know what people are constantly complaining about problems. They're giving me no solution, because there is no solution right now. Like, that's the issue I have. And if you have issues with the managing, and I know, Frank, you're going to go into some stuff with the managing, that's fine with the day-to-day stuff, but it's like, who you're putting on the mound, you have no choice. You have had no choice over this past month. There's been, like, no practical choice whatsoever. It's just, I don't know. That's how I look at it. I know everybody's going to say, well, they should just call up the prospects because the Angels do it all the time. The Angels aren't good. So there you go.
Yeah, no, you don't want to follow them in anything. Like, don't, whatever they do the opposite, because
we were following them for a few years, learning how to waste a superstar's career in Jacob deGrom. But we're trying to go away from that,
And who would have thought that, like, they didn't bring him back because of injury concerns yet? But like you said, with pitchers, like, everyone gets hurt anyway, so you might as well just keep the ones that are good. Because, yeah. I mean, listen, deGrom, he elected to have the All-Star game, but he still made it. Meanwhile, you have other guys who, out for season, or they were 40 years old and now they're not even here anymore. So that's the thing too, is that, like, they did these short-term replacements for deGrom, and those guys aren't even here anymore. While the only guy
that's been dependable just got selected to the All-Star game yesterday.
That's him, Mr. Dependable David. That's what we call him.
And I've Dependable Dave. Anyways, we'll get into him in a second, but I do want to run down this series, what happened here in Baltimore. Now, obviously, there was some hectic everything that went on here with the last week to the All-Star break, with the Mets trying to survive, like we said. But, of course, there is some wrongdoing of the Mets shooting themselves in the foot a lot in this series. So we will get into that. Let's start off with Game 1. Clay Holmes will make the start for the series opener and toss 1-run ball through 5 on the back of some timely ground balls, but he'd struggle in the 6th, not able to get a single out, hitting the leadoff batter with back-to-back singles, a 2-run double to Ryan O'Hearn, and a 2-run single by Ramon Laureano to knock Holmes out of the game. Richard Lovelady would come in and get the first 2 outs, but hit a batter of his own. He'd be taken out for the major league debut of Alex Carrillo, who would finish the inning on 1 pitch as Luis Torrens would successfully backpick the runner at third to end the inning and close the book on Holmes. 5+ innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 87 pitches, down 1-0 in the 3rd. Ronnie Mauricio would tie the game with his 4th home run of the year. Brett Beatty would follow that up with a double, and Brandon Nimmo would give the Mets a 2-1 lead with an RBI double. Alex Carrillo would come back out for the 7th and surrender a solo home run to Jackson Holliday, putting the Mets down 6-2 going into the 8th. And after a leadoff single by Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor would launch his 18th home run of the year to make it a 2-run ball game. And the next batter, Juan Soto, would single, bringing the tying run to the plate with no one out for who else but Pete Alonso with a game-tying 2-run homer, his 21st of the year, his 74th and 75th RBIs of the season to make it a 6-6 ball game. Reed Garrett would get the 8th and work around a leadoff walk and a 1-out single to post a scoreless inning. Edwin Diaz would get the 9th, toss a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout, and send this one to extras. With Francisco Lindor as the ghost runner at second, first pitch swinging, Juan Soto would drive in the go-ahead run with an RBI single, putting the Mets in front, but they would only get 1 in the top of the inning to put the pressure on Huskar Brazaban in the 10th, who would toss a 1-2-3 inning with a strikeout to secure the Mets' late comeback win in Game 1, 7-6. Game 2. Wednesday's game would be postponed due to rain, and it would be moved to Thursday for a day-night doubleheader. David Peterson would start the 12 p.m. part of the doubleheader and was brilliant through 7 innings. He'd come back out for the 8th and be pulled after a leadoff single. Ryan Stanek would come in and allow his inherited runner to score on a 2-run homer to Gunnar Henderson to close the book on Peterson. 7+ innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 6 strikeouts on 90 pitches. The Mets' only run would come in the 5th with an RBI double by Tyrone Taylor to give them a 1-0 lead. Stanek would implode in the 8th inning, walking 4 batters to load the bases multiple times, allowing an additional earned run on a sacrifice fly from Ramon Laureano. The 27th man of the doubleheader, Austin Warren, would come in to get the final out of the 8th on 3 pitches, and the Mets offense would end up going 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position to drop Game 2 of the series and Game 1 of the doubleheader 3-1. Game 3, Brandon Waddell would start as an extended-ish opener, tossing 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts on 41 pitches. The Mets offense would get off to a good start in the first inning after a leadoff single by Brandon Nimmo, followed by a double from Francisco Lindor to make it 2nd and 3rd. Juan Soto would get the Mets on the board with an RBI groundout. Pete Alonso would give the Mets a 2-0 lead on a sacrifice fly, his 76th RBI of the season. Down 3-2 in the 4th, Juan Soto would lead off with a walk and steal second base, and a 1-out walk to Jeff McNeil would set up Brett Beatty to tie the game up at 3 with an RBI single. But Justin Hagenman would take over in the 4th inning for Waddell and toss a scoreless inning, but get plagued by some shoddy infield defense by Lindor and Beatty to surrender 2 runs in the 5th. Hageman would come back out for the 6th and allow a leadoff double, get pulled for Richard Lovelady, who would allow his base runner to score on a fielder's choice, make it a 3-run ball game, followed by a 1-out single and a walk. Lovelady would be pulled for Rico Garcia, who would allow one of Lovelady's base runners to score on a fielder's choice as well, but finished the inning, ending up tossing 2 2/3 innings scoreless for the rest of the game. The Mets offense would stall out for the rest of the contest to drop both games of the doubleheader and lose a 3-game set in Baltimore, 7-3. The Mets are now 53-41 on the season, sitting a game and a half behind the Phillies for first place in the National League East, entering tonight. Could change. Who knows? We still got a game tonight, and I believe that the Phillies are about to start at some point. I have no idea. But again, we will see what happens here, obviously, going forward. But again, a series that should have been a series win, could have possibly swept. But again, some of the predicaments that they're in, kind of rough. But this is a Baltimore team that has been struggling, and it seems like the Mets just wanted to give them life and putz around. And as we have here on the graphic for our title, falter. Just completely falter from both sides, or any side, defensively, offensively, and the pitching imploded as well. So, Frank, some main takeaways. I know that there's some stuff that you want to get into with some of the managing and everything. Put it out all out on the table. Not a great weekend, I think, right? Or no? Week.
Yeah, there was
weekish.
Yeah,
in Baltimore.
not a good few series for sure.
Yeah.
And I'll start off with game one, and Marcus puts it in the chat. Clay Holmes is a 5-inning starting pitcher, a bullpen stressor. And I'm going to dig a little deeper into that because the numbers are just so drastic. And my biggest frustration of the managing in this series is where we are in the season. Because for Clay Holmes, for example, as we know, it's an experiment. He was a reliever. Now you're turning him into a starter. So you're trying to see how it goes. Like there's going to be good things and some bad things. He's learned to figure it out. You're learning to kind of manage how do you use Clay Holmes as a starter. Well, when it's his 18th start, like you have 17 other games to go by. So it's like I say, fool me once, shame on me. But this is what we're going to get into. Fool me, 11 times. I mean, come on now. Like, if you don't know by the 11th time you got to take this guy out, like, you're just in the wrong business. Like, because I just don't get it. So, Clay Holmes, innings 1 through 3, ERA of 2.17. Like, he's phenomenal to start off games. Then you get to innings 4 through 6, it more than doubles, 4.78. So, and it gets worse based off the innings that he pitches. So, 4th inning, his ERA goes to 3. 5th inning, 4.76. And then 6th inning, and this did get inflated by his last start because how bad it was, ERA of 8.64 in the 6th inning. That's 11 of his 18 starts he's pitched into the 6th inning. However, only in 8 of them has he actually finished the inning. So 3 of the times when you had Clay Holmes go out there for the 6th inning, you had to pull him. So if you've known after seeing him go into the start 10 times, struggle in the 6th inning, why are you putting him back out there without having a guy warmed up in the bullpen? If you want to tell me, his pitch count was low, the guys are tired, all this other stuff, fine. At least have somebody warmed up in case he gets into trouble. And they just let him get his butt kicked. They let a ton of runs score. The Mets lost the lead and now are falling behind. Now it's like 6-2, and you're just watching it happen. And you're like, can we take him out? Because clearly he cannot do this. We've seen it happen a bunch of times where he struggles in this inning, yet Mendoza leaves him out there. So it's like, if this is one of the first times Clay Holmes is out there, all right, fine. You're just learning. But when you've seen him out there the 11th time and you don't know to take this guy out after 5, I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, how do you not know your own team? How do you not know your own pitchers? And then the same thing happened in the next game with Stanek. Has Ryan Stanek ever walked 4 guys in an outing as a member of the Mets?
He's come close.
He's come close, but it's like, you see the reliever. I mean, of course, he gets the home run and the managing. Like, listen, the Orioles had Gunnar Henderson as like their big bat off the bench, ready to deploy him at any time with the lefty Peterson on the mound. So you could have tried to keep Pearson as long out there as you wanted to try to deter them from bringing in Henderson, but he was going to come in eventually at some point. But still, if you see a reliever is out there and he walks a batter, you're like, okay, that's not good. You don't want that to happen. Especially after you already gave up a home run. So you already gave up a home run, you're already like, this might be a bad outing for him. Let me just kind of get ready to maybe do something here. You see him walk a batter, you're like, this is not getting good. You see him walk 2 batters, you really should have somebody warmed up. You see him walk 3 batters and he's ready to give a home run, take him out. Get him out. Bring in somebody else. Walks a 4th batter. And you're like, how much more do you need to see here? Like, again, fool me once, all right, but 5 times? Like, take him out. Like, you had a day off because of the rain. You had a day off before the Clay Holmes start. I know they've been overworked, but in these particular situations, you had days off the day ahead. The guy gave you 7 innings. Why are you having the starting pitcher give you 7 innings if you're not going to use other guys? And of course, right on cue, when he brings in Warren, 3 pitches out, and they strand the runners. Right away.
Yeah.
Right away. It was like so perfect, so on cue. Bam, problem solved. And the same thing happened with Holmes. It's like they took Holmes out, they get out of it, all good. And it's like, how are you just letting this happen? Like you would think you would know now by middle of July when to take out your guys, but clearly he is still struggling with it.
Yeah, I've continued to see this as a trend as well this year with Mendoza, of where he rides with a lot of the guys he has somewhat confidence in, or I don't know if it's the track record or something like that, to continue to bail him out in those certain process. I think the thing with relievers is it's kind of the 3-batter minimum rule is obviously out there. But again, there's also a point of that beforehand where it's a 3-batter gauntlet of how does he look for those first 3 batters before you make a decision. In that entire situation of with Ryan Stanek, and even though they had the limited options in the bullpen, actually no, they had an off day because of the rain delay, so they should have went to somebody. He should not be facing 7 batters in that situation. He shouldn't. There is no possibility where he should.
3-batter minimum rule, not 7. You know what I mean?
It's exactly. He doesn't have to face the whole lineup. Yeah, exactly.
For 1 inning reliever too. Like, come on, it's the 8th inning. You, like you said, you had other guys there. You want to try Garrett. You want to try Braza. I mean, they've had their struggles too. But you, like, right away, you see home run, you're like, oh, this guy might not have it. Like, first batter, you should want something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Run. You already gave up the game. You're already losing. So it's like,
listen, I would understand it if he only faced 4 batters, but if you get to 7, which is nearly the entirety of the lineup, that's when you're like, okay, this is questionable to actually take him out. But again, like there's also the thought of that game where, again, I was saying it and people were fighting me on it of both people are continuing to the outlet. And then I understand that of like the outlet of who's responsible for that game. Again, Stanek as a whole, with this game as a whole, that first game, Stanek was awful in 1 inning. The offense was awful for 9. Yeah. So and that's who I held responsible for that game.
The thing is that, like, but still, you wasted David Peterson's start. Like, you absolutely wasted it. And it's still a game that it's winnable. Like, I mean, what, should the offense step up? Yes, but there still was a way to win that game. There was still a way to get it done. The blame, to your point, it goes on both. The blame is on the offense. The blame is on Stanek, but Mendoza also has a piece of it as well.
I think if it was a 5-4 game, then I would be upset a little bit more. Yeah. Like the thing is that they had so many of these opportunities. Again, the big number
game 1 though, when the offense just totally woke up, hit a bunch of home runs, they bailed out Mendoza because they scored 7,
they did. They 100%.
I mean, come on now. Like,
they 100% did, and then he stuck with them. He stuck with them in that second game too, and it looked a little bit more with the bleeding number that stands out to me the most in that second game is 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position against a struggling Charlie Morton,
which we've seen many times.
Yeah, exactly. We continue to see that, and you continue to don't see any improvement in that department whatsoever. And it continues to shoot them in the foot a little bit more than a bullpen decision from the manager. Because, again, I'm so tired of them. I'm really just getting really tired of this guy is not a good manager. He's not good with this. He's not good at that. Because I've just gone to the point of how many managers are we going to put in here until everybody is happy? You're going to be doing that for the end of time. I understand everyone's frustration with this, with Carlos Mendoza. I've cut him a decent amount of slack, obviously, with some of the decisions that he has made, considering how much his back was put against the wall. I don't agree with every single situation that he puts out there, but I think it's the fact that there's so many different other departments on this team that bleed into the fact that it doesn't matter what Mendoza does, no matter what, because if the offense is giving you 1 run a game, nothing's going to happen. Like, absolutely nothing is going to happen. And then, you also have that department of people who will blame David Stearns for having Brandon Waddell and Justin Hageman on the mound. They didn't want Brandon Waddell and Justin Hageman on the mound. They didn't want that. They brought in Griffin Canning, who was pitching very well. He ruptured his Achilles. Like, they haven't had Senga for a month. They haven't had Manaya. Montas is just getting back. Like, the guys that they wanted out there, they didn't like. Those guys are not those guys were not supposed to be out there. They had no other choice. So it's like, it's so hard for me to say in such a reactionary tale to say, well, the management of Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns has failed us all this season. This wasn't the product that was supposed to be on the field. And if it was, then we're talking about a different conversation. Because I don't think anybody went into this season saying, well, I hope Brandon Waddell makes a contribution to this team. No one was saying that. No one was saying it at all. Because they look at this guy, if you look at it with Brandon Waddell, the guy was in the KBO for a reason. There's a reason why he was in the KBO, and it's not like anybody in the KBO can't make a comeback to the major leagues, but it's like, what are you going to expect? Did they really expect Brandon Waddell to pitch 23 innings for this team out of the bullpen and make one start? That's the thing. And this is another point of M-Easy, which is a good point. I get it. Manaya, Senga, and Montas have a history of getting injured. That is very, very true. But they also had the thought of a 6-man rotation as well, in the thought of with Senga for every 6th day of him giving that extra day of rest. So there was a thought of it, and then also the other point of every pitcher will die. That's it. Well, they just don't exist.
But also the injuries that we're talking about, these 3 pitchers in particular.
Yes.
One guy was just from running on the field again 2 seasons in a row. He got hurt just playing baseball with no contact. The other 2 guys, the other person we need to blame is who in the world is in charge of the offseason like stretching program or training program, because both those guys, Manaya and Montas, came off the flight injured. Like, they didn't even play baseball and got hurt just cause.
Was it undercooked chicken again?
They're just like, oh, my oblique doesn't work. Oh, and oh, my lat's out. Just out of the blue. Yeah. Like, you don't wake up with like a lat and you're out for months, and an oblique and you're out for months. Like, who was in charge of the offseason training program? Like, so Stearns to some extent, yes, but like, there's so many people here that just what is going on? Like, Senga's never stretched right. He's never hydrated right. This guy's always just like straining something randomly, just on the diamond. It's crazy. And even
I'm so numb to pitcher injuries. Yeah, I'm so numb to it. Like, I'm so numb.
He barely moved. The guy started to jog and ruptures Achilles.
I'm so numb. I'm so numb to pitching injuries at this point. I really am, because it's like, yeah, that checks out. Like, Edwin Diaz jumping in celebration, shredding up his knee, done for the year. Two different sized legs,
Yeah,
he had 2 different legs. They had to cut one off, and then all of a sudden he's back in the All-Star game. I mean, it's a crazy thing. Like, this is pitching now. This is what pitching is now. And like, it's so, if you are a little bit older, like Frank, who's like, 90 years old, if you're kind of disgusted when you look at it. You're like, this is what pitching is now? This is what it's become.
I miss the 9-inning starts. I really do.
You miss it.
Who worried about a bullpen? They didn't even have a bullpen. Like, you didn't.
No, you didn't even have. You had 3 guys. You had 3 guys in the bullpen.
We played so much about Eric Chavez. There weren't even hitting coaches back then.
There weren't even hitting coaches. No, exactly. And that's I think that's the part of the game that Eric Chavez is trying to bring back, obviously. But, it's the point of the fact that this game is just accelerated to a point where, it's plug your nose, cross your fingers, cross your toes. Someone's going to get hurt. That's it. It's all going to happen, and that's the main reason as to why pitching will continue to be a committee. I say this all the time. Pitching rotations don't exist anymore. They don't. They never will. And it's just the fact of the matter is that someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to have to be available, and that's the main reason as to why I think they need to go after someone who can provide you innings at the trade deadline, and not just say, "Oh well, we need an ace." Bring out the ace, because everybody wants is, Sandy, who struggled this year. He's also had the injury history. There is nobody you can put out here that said, oh, they're 100% going to stay healthy. Corbin Burns, everybody wanted him in the offseason. Tommy John surgery. Blake Snell, hurt once again. The thing is that I continue to just sit here and I'm like, what else? What is the answer to this? Like, there is no answer. Maybe we do have 20 years down the line maybe we have a way that, Tommy John surgery only needs 5 months to heal, and it's a big advancement in science, but we're not at that point right now. It's like there is legitimately nothing you can do. I really thought that there was a point of, is there something with Jeremy Hefner with a lot of these pitchers getting injured, what he's, pushing? Is there something with... Now I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is pitching. This is what it is. Like, this is what this game has become. And it's sad. It is sad because you see so many talented guys get hurt as much as they do from just existing, from maybe zipping up their pants. We've seen a few Mets get hurt with that. Was that Wheeler or Lugo? Something.
Lugo got hurt in a hotel. There's a lot of hotel injuries.
Lugo hit his toe on a door or something, right?
Jerry Blevins fell. I mean, we've had it all.
Yeah, we've had all of it. And then, of course, we get to the point of things that should not happen at all, no matter what, but it did happen with Yoenis Cespedes and the wild boar. So again, we get that. That's the for certain level of like, yeah, this could have been prevented. Anyways, but I think that's just basically what pitchers have become anyways. And speaking of injuries, I do want to get into that final part of it, because obviously there's two guys who are majorly in this with the lineup, the two DHs, obviously. So I want to get into the injury report as probably earliest as we possibly have ever. But the floor is yours, Frank, because we have two major guys who just went onto the injured list. One that returned after, what was it, 2 hours of being healthy. So great.
Yeah.
Anyways, floor is yours.
Yeah, he came back to go away again. So we'll start off with Starling Marte. Mets outfielder / designated hitter has been placed on the 10 danger list due to a right knee bruise. The 36-year-old felt the discomfort during his final at-bat in Sunday's afternoon's game versus the Yankees. With a return timeline still unclear, Mendoza said that he is 100% confident that he will return after the All-Star break. And the MRI also apparently looked pretty good from what they've reported today. So the concern level still is low for that. Jesse Winker, Mets outfielder / as a hitter, has been placed on the 10-day injury list due to back inflammation. Winker exited yesterday afternoon's game in Baltimore due to back tightness that he experienced during the first inning. The 31-year-old will return to New York for further testing after he had just returned to the Mets lineup on Tuesday after missing 2 months with a right oblique strain. Sean Manaea, Mets starting pitcher, made his final rehab start on Tuesday night for AAA Syracuse, tossing 3 2/3 innings of 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts on 73 pitches. Manaea is expected to be activated on Sunday for his long-awaited return to the Mets rotation. The 33-year-old left-hander has been sidelined since the beginning of spring training due to a right oblique strain with multiple setbacks since the initial injury. Brooks Raley, Mets reliever, made another rehab appearance for AAA Syracuse on Tuesday night. So far in his rehab campaign, the 36-year-old has tossed 8 scoreless innings as he nears the end of his 30-day rehab assignment window. Mets manager stated that the only box left for Raley to check is to pitch back-to-back days before a decision is made. Raley has been recovering from Tommy John surgery that included an internal brace procedure that he underwent back in April of last year. So, I mean, for Winker, for Marte, and that's the other thing, too, is that they asked Mendoza, it was like he finally put Marte back in the outfield, and he got hurt again. And, like, Winker originally had gotten hurt in the outfield, And they're like, Carlos, don't you think it's kind of a coincidence that these guys are in the outfield and they got hurt? He's like, no, they'll play the outfield. Like, dude, I mean, again, fool me once, but he just likes it, I guess, because he just keeps letting the same crap happen over and over, and he's not doing anything about it. It's crazy.
I mean, we're putting Jeff McNeil in center field, who's been banged up a lot these last few weeks. So that should go over well. That should go over well, right? So far, it's been okay. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that your two DHs that were expected to, and it seems like both of them got hurt in the games of them playing the outfield that we did not expect them to play, and now that pushes us to a point of Jared Young coming back, who we know is not anything special whatsoever. And he was in the KBO for a reason. I think pretty sure I rank him as the worst player, but worst
he was
qualified
towards the bottom. He was.
So he's back. But to me, with this entire discussion of Starling Marte, I mean, we've talked about it multiple times before, and it's the main reason as to why that contract is mainly a block in this offense being even better, no matter what he does produce at that current point. With Winker, Marte, I'd say that right now is a put up or shut up right now for Mark Vientos. That's basically how I look at it. And M-Easy agrees right here, saying Vientos step up and take a hold of this DH spot. God damn it. And yeah, I would like to say I'm in that same boat here, because if he doesn't, in 3 weeks, maybe his name is popping up on the phones and he's out of here. Who knows? Because he is out of minor league options. So we'll see.
Yeah, maybe you should have been constantly sending him up and sending him down before. Who knew?
Maybe. I don't know. But again, I would say that it's like, okay, it's Vientos, because I don't need to see a platoon where it's like, oh yeah, Jared Young and Mark Vientos. Yeah, Vientos, you're getting all the DH reps now. If you figure it out, you figure it out. But I mean, I'm sorry. If I see Jared Young as a part-time player on this team, the guy should just be sitting on a bench taking up the roster spot. Like that's literally it as of right now, because I'm not going to say, well, Jesse Winker, he's a quality DH. He's a quality bat that can help deepen this lineup. Same thing can go for Jared Young. No, not at all. Like we all know that Jared Young is not a good player. And I know that he's going to come off the bench tonight and hit a home run, and everyone's going to call me an idiot. But we all know that Jared Young is not capable of being a platoon DH, an everyday DH, a DH that exists at anything of the major league level. And let's again, like we said, he was in the KBO for a reason. There was a reason why he was there. For those of you asking about Travis Jankowski, we have it on the screen there. He was designated for assignment. We will never forget you for that pinch bunt that you had. Salute to you, Jankowski, for your second stint as a Met. I guess it was a successful one. I don't know. We'll see. I think, again, any of these moves that they possibly do make, like we've said, is probably going to be dipping into the young guys. And I asked you guys in the chat of who you would prefer and who would you be willing to trade at the deadline if there was a guy at the top of your list to move on from. And it looks like it's a little bit close as of right now. And we'll get into that later. If you guys have not voted on that poll, make sure to vote on it later. But again, like this is the part of the DH situation that I was talking about going into the season. It's like, the injury concerns of Marte and Winker. These guys can't play the field and they're still getting injured. And then you put them in the field and they get injured. So it's like, this is a weak platoon from so many aspects. And everybody would say, yeah, well, look at their numbers against the... Okay. Well, where are we at now? Winker's missed a majority of the season. Marte's injured again. And it's not like he was providing DH value the entirety of the time. And, he was having a few good stretches, but not to the DH.
Not in the power department.
Not in the power department,
no.
Which that's what the DH
They made
should
him-
be.
They eventually made him the leadoff hitter. I mean, how many DHs lead off?
Yeah. Maybe Jeter in his final year. I don't know. Something like that. And, maybe Starling Marte's in his final year and they want to, give him that type of salute, but I don't think he's on the same wavelength as Derek Jeter. I don't think so.
Off that a little bit.
Yeah. And listen, I've said this, it's come as misconstrued. I love Starling Marte. I do. I love the guy. I think he's a great guy. I think he is a good player still. He's a solid player, but again, it's the return on investment that you're getting from this contract that not only is not good enough for a DH, but holding their lineup back from being a lot better. It's just true. It is true. It has nothing to do with if he is producing or not, or his OPS in his last 15 games that everybody wanted to shove down my throat on Twitter over this last week. Has nothing to do with that. Value and production are on two different wavelengths when you're talking about building a roster. That's roster construction. And everybody completely complains about the roster construction from David Stearns. But what about the pieces that he inherited that are also holding him back? Like, you look at this lineup too. Who else in this everyday lineup is someone that he did not inherit? Tyrone Taylor, who was expected to be a fourth outfielder, a platoon bat, but Jose Siri ended up getting hurt. So what exactly is the thought process of the guys who are not stepping up on the offense, which is the most, all these young guys he inherited, all these contracts he inherited. Nine of Marte's last 10 hits are single. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you get the singles. If he steals, cool, but like, he's not doing it as frequent as he was. You're getting a limited amount of value here. We talk about this all the time. I'm not doing this anymore. And it seems like they still are good with him. Like, they still trust him with everything, because we were still up until this point, until he got hurt. He still was leading off. He was batting second. They had him in the cleanup spot at one point. So it doesn't seem like that's going away anytime soon. And it will back up the lineup from being better and matching up to other teams in overall depth. And especially with some of the young guys who have been underperforming the way that they have been. So we'll see how that works. And it's again, I don't know how we're supposed to really go into everything with, making a joke out of the DH position the way that they have since it was implemented, especially when you look at the other contending teams of how they fill in the DH position. Again, it's embarrassing. It really is. But hey, whatever. Anyways, speaking of not embarrassing, let's actually get into some stuff that is very honoring. Now, over the last week, they've had the MLB All-Stars have been selected, and the Mets had Francisco Lindor be selected as a starter. He also got his first All-Star selection as a New York Met, and Pete Alonso gets his fifth as a New York Met. He's not participating in the Home Run Derby, by the way, so shocker. We don't get the dent lifting memes this year. And then also Edwin Diaz, who is also going to be representing the Mets. Hopefully he can pitch this time in the All-Star game and they don't give it to David Bednar. That would be awesome. Anyways, but we also have a fourth Mets All-Star who is replacing
Robbie Ray from the Giants.
Robbie Ray. Okay. He's replacing Robbie Ray on the All-Star team. And that being one of our own, David Peterson, who has gotten his midsummer selection. We know how consistent David Peterson has been over these past 2 years. He has been the rock of the Mets rotation. We've talked about him a good amount of giving him his flowers that he deserves over these past few years of being the rock of this rotation. We know that this year it has been no different, and I think that it does prove one theory that I will bring up in a second about how the All-Star game is kind of configured here. But we know how good David Peterson has been and how big he has been for this rotation of eating innings that have not been able to be consumed by anybody else. We see a 3.06 earned run average this year. a 3.37 fielding independent pitching, barely gives up home runs, a 1.8 wins above replacement. He's striking out more batters than he has the entirety of this season. The walks are down, of course. We all know the magical slider that he has. He gets plenty of whiffs with that. He has a 2.34 expected weighted on base average against his slider. 14 of his 18 starts this year, he has pitched into the sixth inning, something that we can't really say about a lot of our starters or a lot of starters these days. And he also pitched a complete game shutout against the Nationals on June 11th. We know he's a five-pitch guy. And he has definitely used it to his full-on advantage, maximizing everything he could possibly do and going to a certain level as to where he has been selected to the All-Star game as a, what are we calling them? A replacement, I guess. It's a replacement for that. But he was definitely on the list as a possible All-Star. We know he doesn't have the shiniest of stuff, but he does have one thing that he's developed over these last few years, and that has been his great command of the zone and his great extension of the zone. And he's been able to pitch to the certain element of a bulldog lefty, eating innings, being results man, as we like to say, and we like to coin for him. But again, David Peterson, he's been great for the last 200 innings since his hip surgery or whatever. He gets the recognition here as a replacement here. Again, he's having a really good season. We know that he had a few rough ones. Just everybody in the starting rotation did. But I think it's easy to say here, Frank, I know that you will full on agree with me here. Well-deserved for David Peterson, whether, if I was in a boat of he's too inconsistent or not, like 2 years ago, I think from what we are seeing on the field and what we have seen these past two seasons from David Peterson is that this has been able to stick. He's been a huge part to this rotation. It was and it's nice to see him get that recognition of being able to be selected to the All-Star game, because we know how important he has been to this rotation over these past few years, where a lot has been going in and a lot has been going out. Lots of transactions. He has been the steady piece to this rotation for the last 2, maybe even 3, maybe even 4 years. He's been able to capitalize on what he's been able to do, and he's developed into a really good starting pitcher.
David Pearson's been here for 5 years, and you and I have argued about him for 5 years. I mean, so it's been a long time coming, but eventually he was able to get it done. Like you said, he deserved it, earned it, been fully healthy. He had a couple rough starts lately, but then he kind of turned it back around. Obviously, this most recent start against the Orioles. So it was really nice to see him get rewarded. You feel like if Senga would have stayed healthy and had the innings, all that stuff, he easily could have made it with the pace he was on. So it does stink for him. As we know, there are some other snubs for this team. There's one big one and one that I've been pushing for to be a first-time All-Star. But overall, I mean, for Peterson, like you said, the consistency has been big. And just overall refining his craft to become a better pitcher, cut down the walk rate. They said be more aggressive in the zone. And that was always your main complaint, was that he had walked too many batters, especially as a starting pitcher. But he's been able to correct that. I mean, could have been the hip surgery, perhaps. But this is now, like we've said, 2 seasons in a row, he's been very solid. So it's not just a one-year fluke. So that's definitely really good to see, because we've seen too many one-year wonders. And with the All-Star game, that's a first half award. So he had a really good first half, and I'm hoping he could have a really good second half too.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens going forward here, but we all know that he is being seen as like 230 innings since that hip surgery. He's made 39 starts, sub 3 earned run average. I mean, he's been a dependable middle of the rotation guy for a rotation that has had a lot of moving parts, like I have said, over these past few years, with the Verlander and the Scherzer and the in and out of the Manaea and Severino. I mean, they've had a different rotation pretty much for the last 4 years. I mean, it's been crazy how many pitching transactions they have made, especially the amount of pitching transactions they've made this year, where they've used 37 pitchers. David Peterson's been healthy throughout that entire that entire point.
He
The
is the
dependability
last
has been
man
there.
standing of
He
the
is.
projected opening day rotation. I mean,
He is.
McGill gone, Canning
Yeah.
gone, Montes was out almost all year so far.
Is it
Manaya is
Holmes?
finally
Is
coming
Holmes
back.
also?
Holmes
Yeah.
is around, but even he has a little bit of a limit thing.
Yeah.
And like Rangers Central, I mentioned, like sometimes his pitch limit, sometimes he doesn't. But like David
Yeah.
Pearson's been the guy, complete game shutout this year. He worked 8 innings the other day. Like he's been like the one guy
Yeah.
who they actually could use and don't have to have any limitations and missing starts and all this extra days of rest. Like there's been none of that. He's just been like the guy for this team, and he got rewarded.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, what was it? One of the few episodes that we did recently, when I ranked the roster of what they were doing through 81 games, and you asked me like the difference between with Holmes and Peterson, it's
Yes.
this. It's
Yeah.
it's the volume. That's basically what it is, because
Yep.
it's so important, especially when you're talking about the value to the rest of the rotation of who's going to be available. And listen, he has struggled as much as he has, and as he has these last few starts, he got roughed up a little bit, which basically plays into my theory of how the All-Star game is so voted in to the first 2 months of the season. It is so weighted to that point because you have like a few weeks after the 2 months of the season, the voting starts, and then that's how it all fluctuates from there. And that's the main reason as to why we didn't see Lindor get selected, even though he was like, oh, he had such a great June, he had this, so how is he not in here? His stats are this. And that's what I think would happen with Soto as well. Like he had those two mediocre starts. There's obviously guys that get in where you're like, why is this guy in here? But there's also this certain point where I don't agree with it, because I think Juan Soto has earned the right to be that top 1% perennial guy that's in the All-Star game nearly no matter what. The Trouts and the Judges and the Otanis like that, because you all know he was going to pick it up before the All-Star break. But again, I understand the process of that. And with David Peterson, once again, the first 2 months were phenomenal from him. He was arguably the best starter in the rotation with Senga going down when he did, and he was doing, his thing. But then June comes along, which doesn't seem to be weighted as much in All-Star, and he's one of the first guys to come off of the the fence or whatever for replacement. Like that's how I see it. It's like 2 months and maybe 2 weeks is how they look around the criteria for the All-Star game of how some of these guys are put in. I know it mostly goes off of votes. But again, it's the players' vote is in early June, like Jay-Z is saying here. And Soto was just heating up around that time. Like the timing of it was the reason as to why he didn't end up getting in. I don't agree. I think that Soto still should be in it because he should be featured in this big event. And to be honest, I don't even know what they're waiting on as of right now. And he should be on there. But again, I understand why. It's because of how much the first 2 months have been weighted into the All-Star game. And to tell the truth, whether people want to put up his baseball savant red circles, the first 2 months were mediocre from Juan Soto. For his standards, they were way mediocre from what we are used to, from what he has done throughout his entirety of his career. So again, we'll see what happens. I don't know he would possibly replace if somebody goes out. I know that we've been seeing a lot of guys in the American League go down. So obviously I'm not rooting for somebody to just get injured. But again, it's one of those points of, Soto deserves to be there. We know that he's one of the best in the game. He's one of the best players in the game, and he should be represented in such. But, it's whatever. Edwin Diaz is there. So do I care about anything else? No. We all know that that's the only thing that matters. Like that's the only All-Star selection that does matter. But there's other guys out there. But it's good to see David Peterson, one of our own, get selected, because again, we've seen All-Stars go in and out here. We've seen Alonso get it. We've seen McNeil get it. We saw Conforto get it in 2017. But there's been times where we have not had that consistent of perennial all-star. So again, to see a new guy come in here and David Peterson, who's been great these last 2 years, definitely is a nod on the Mets, I don't know, late blooming development here, because again, he struggled for quite a while. He did struggle for quite a while with the consistency, and he took off, and it is nothing but deserved of an all-star selection for David Peterson. If you want to argue some other guys over him, it's whatever. I don't care, to be honest. But again, David Peterson has been a huge key to this team, and I don't think anybody can disagree. Maybe if you're not a Mets fan, you wouldn't get it, but David Peterson's been very important to this Mets rotation, pitching staff, team in the last 2 years since he got his Shakira hip surgery, and his hips don't lie. But anybody else, I mean, obviously, Frank, you weren't here for the initial announcement when I talked about, obviously, there's some other guys that maybe could get a mention here. But there's some guys who miss out and they just don't get the nod.
Yeah, I mean, the guy I've been talking about is Nimmo. I feel like he had a shot at it. It could be a little bit to your point of like he also had the slow start to the season, first couple of months.
Brutal.
We were talking about, and I was talking about, ever since his foot and second half of last year has been any good, but they moved him up and he's been really solid. I mean, his numbers, you could throw him right in there with some of the other corner outfielders in the National League that didn't make the All-Star team. He was right there with Corbin Carroll. He was right there with Fernando Tatis Jr. And I thought, maybe Corbin Carroll would have like the excuse of like stolen bases, but Soto and Nimmo right there with him. So you don't even have that going either. And Carroll did have like a ridiculous month at the beginning of the season, like of April, where he was phenomenal. So they're like, oh, well, like you said, voting early, like, oh yeah, well, Corbin Carroll, obviously. But, Nimmo has really turned it on, and he's been solid. He's been like, I thought he should have won it. He should have made it last year too. Like,
I thought he should have got it last year.
Few times, keeps being so close, yet never doesn't get it. I don't know if he ever will at this point, because he's going to be 33 next season. So, I mean, his power numbers are up there. He's got 18 on the season. So, he has a lot going for him, and it just thinks that he hasn't been able to crack it yet. And, first guy up is Soto, if it even was an opening. So he would need a lot to go right very quickly in order to get
probably. Yeah, obviously. I mean, I've said this so many times on our show. Brandon Nimmo is the best player in baseball to never be selected to an All-Star game. And it continues to be true with how consistent of a hitter he has been for this team, how consistent of a player he has been for this team, and the overall value that he has supplied in so many different ways for this team, whether he's rough around the edges. But I think, again, that 2-month start to the season, I think it's the most weighted. And if you look at him throughout the first 2 months, slashing 233, 232, 294, 419, a 101 weighted runs created plus. I mean, that was basically what he was looking at throughout the first 2 months. And then you get into what he's been doing since June, which has been a ridiculous level of production of what we're used to from Brandon Nimmo. But then we've also added in those other factors of he hasn't been healthy enough, too. He wasn't healthy enough. And there was a lot of, mistiming with Brandon Nimmo getting into the All-Star game. Hopefully, I hope it eventually does happen, but who knows? As we are speaking of future All-Stars, right, Frank? Alvarez just hit another home run in AAA.
He didn't pull it. It was right side.
He didn't pull it? Well, that means he's learning his lesson. Bad boy. Bad boy learning his lesson. Anyways, some other guys. We know that the middle relief is so scarce in this whole voting, because they just look at it as relief pitchers are just closers and that's it. And it's a stupid system. It's flawed. It's not good whatsoever. The way that it is constructed, it's just terrible. But we know Reed Garrett, Huskar Brazaban, they had really good starts to the season. Other guys who,
I mean, you're not getting a middle reliever in there with ERA.
You're not going to get that. No.
Just not gonna happen.
Yeah, unless they're completely spotless. I mean, I think like the only guy of note that got it was Dylan Betances as a setup guy. But
I mean, Hoffman get it last year with the Phillies. So I mean, it's rare though. It is rare. Yeah. You had Jason Adam, like he was battling with Suarez in the bullpen for the Padres at one point. Like you need to be I mean, even I remember talking like Aaron Loop, like they're just sometimes you just can't get in. Like
Yeah,
it's
that one.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, Loop. I mean, to be honest, Loop at that point, he probably was our only All Star in that season. Was he
Yeah,
like? Who was it that year? Was it?
well, I think that was the Walker year when DeGrom opted out, so Taiwan Walker took it. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, that seemed to hold up fairly well. Let's just say that. But no, I think Luke probably should have been the only guy because I mean that 2021 team, it was so banged up and so miserable that Loop stayed healthy and Loop was ridiculous. I mean, he ended the year, what was it? It was a sub 1 earned run average and almost a near 2-win season as a setup reliever, which is like nearly impossible to do. So again, it's whatever, but I don't know. It again, big shout out to David Peterson, well deserved. And then of course Lindor, long time coming. Obviously, I know he's been struggling, but long time coming. And then of course Pete Alonso, he's had a great season. And then also thank you to the trainers who realized that Diaz's leg was longer than the other. They ended up cutting it off and evening it out, and they were able to figure out that he was able to gain that consistency. And then also, he's only blown one save this season, which is what the committee loves. It's about saves. Just like
he
when
did
Alex
do it
Reyes
in a late
was,
game, though, like I predicted. It was against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I did get that one.
He
right.
did. He did end up doing it. Yeah. What was it? Alex Reyes was like 23 for 23 or something, and they ended up having him as an all-star. And then he just completely blew up afterwards. Yeah, it was, it's definitely it's a first half award. We know that it is. I wish, I do kind of wish it was an end of the year thing, but again, the postseason is like it's such a weird thing.
You would have to do like a separate award for it. Like the NBA has like All-Star, then All-NBA, then season, or NFL is
I think they have all MLB now, but that's like a different.
And no one care about that. And more so like Silver Slugger, Gold Glover. I mean, I feel like people put more attention to that.
Yeah, and those are the only awards that's the only award that is given out in the middle of the season. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's like some kind of like September break that could possibly do it. It's like that would be cool. Or like to like end summer. Like end.
But that's the thing is that everyone's already dropping out of this. I mean, people are dropping out of the home run derby. They're dropping the All-Star game like flies. I mean, it's like every few minutes, LB's posting like a new All-Star that these guys don't even care about this anymore. Like this is just like so extra for them that if they
it's an honor. You're like, thank you, awesome, but I don't need to play in it. Like I don't want to sit here and risk injury, especially with the pitchers. It's like, the All-Star game lines up of 4 days rest for me. I'm not pitching in this thing.
I mean, Wheeler just dropped it, so.
I get it if you're a first time All-Stars, that's fine. But it's like if you get it for like the what is it, the 15th time or whatever, like Kershaw has, it's like what's going to be the deal? And Kershaw getting it, obviously, this better be his final ride, because if it's not, then there's going to be some angry people, obviously, with the the legend pick from Manfred. Which, we always trust his judgment. So obviously it was a great pick. But either way. Speaking of, with pitchers, let's continue on with some deadline stuff. And we did have some news that did come out. And we don't have to rush this segment because it looks like we're going to start off in a delay in Kansas City. So we had some news come out of a possible starting pitcher that the Mets may be going after at the trade deadline. Of a controllable starting pitcher, and that being Miami right-hander Edward Cabrera. No, it is not Sandy. Edward Cabrera has actually had a better season than him. So let's give a full-on rundown of Edward Cabrera, what we are looking at here in a controllable search of guys under control. Now, he is a free agent through he has team control through 2028, so he has multiple years of control. He is a big 6'5", 217-pound right-hander who throws very, very hard, relies a little bit more on the hard changeup, expands the zone fairly well. He's mainly a sinker baller as to why he gets the above average ground ball rates. Can be a little bit prone to the home run ball, let's just say that, but he does get a decent amount of swings and misses. He also gets a lot of chases, like I said. It all really just has to do with command with him because he has some really, really great stuff. We all know he can touch the high 90s. This year, a 3.33 earned run average. He has a call, strike, and whiff percentage, which is a measure of control and command in 30%, which is very, very impressive for someone who doesn't grade the best out with some of his pitches in command. But again, more of it is having to do with his hard changeup, which he likes to set up onto 2 strikes, and as well as his plus sinker that he has. He also has a curveball that he mixes in here. He actually has a very similar, arsenal to, David Peterson in pitch classifications of like a 5-pitch mix of a guy who is more of the sinker baller guy, but obviously he throws from the right side. Now, this report obviously came out from Francie Romaro, FR on X. If I'm saying that wrong, forgive me. But he said the Mets are among several other teams that are interested in right-hander Edward Cabrera ahead of the trade deadline. Now, like I said, he has control through 2028. He is a free agent in 2029. 27 years old. His salary this year is a whopping $1.95 million, which is very, very expensive, as we can say, for some of us, for us normies over here, but for some of these owners, it's pocket change. The curveball, lots of swing and miss stuff. Like we've said, he is definitely a dependable piece you can put in the middle of the rotation. He's not a frontline guy at all. But again, it is a young, controllable piece you can put into the rotation to give it more depth. And he's also not on the level of Paul Blackburn, which is a plus as compared to somebody, that they added last year. So Edward Cabrera, again, not perfect, not a frontline piece at all, but definitely someone maybe you can slide in as a dependable piece to give you some innings and stabilize the rotation a little bit, and also a little bit of upside as well, as he seems to have not have hit his stride just yet. Obviously, he's still young. Marlins, we know that they are in constant rebuild. What are they in the, their 50th year of their 5-year rebuild? So, that's just how the Marlins go. But again, last time we were out here, Frank, you weren't here. We talked about Mitch Keller, someone who, eats innings, throws strikes. Edward Cabrera has not pitched 100 innings yet in his career. So it's a little bit different of that, but definitely a little bit more upside compared to a trade acquisition compared to like what we said with Paul Blackburn. So this is definitely on maybe a little bit more of the control side, the young side, the upside side. And we also have, some things that he would have to work through. I don't know if this would be at the top of my list here, but it's definitely an area that I would turn to as to, like, okay, if this is here, I would definitely listen in on what the Marlins would want as a possible return for a guy like Edward Cabrera, who is under control and can give you some upside going forward. So that's what I think. But, there's other additions out there, but Edward Cabrera is definitely one of them, I would say.
Before he had all these injuries and before he made his major league debut, he was a big prospect for the Marlins. I mean, there was some expectations for Cabrera and what he could do. Heavy sinker, that's something that's always appealing. But it didn't work out with all those injuries, like you mentioned. Still waiting him to throw the 100 innings. Now, yes, there's also the Marlins tax for being in the division. They gave Jesus Luzardo to the Phillies, which, I mean, it's rare that it seems like the only time the Marlins want to do business is if it's the Phillies in the division. They don't really give anyone to the Mets. So they did it with Muto, and they did it with Luzardo. Started off good, had some struggles, it's kind of up and down. But for Cabrera, like you said, with the upside, the age, the contract, I mean, depending on the asking price, because again, it is a little bit of a risk because you don't know for sure. Like number one, is this guy going to make it through the season? And number two, it's like, can he actually turn around and be a solid pitcher? Not the big prospect that he was projected to be, but still be like a solid contributor for you. Can he be in your 5-man rotation? Like, they don't know either one of those things yet. So there are some question marks surrounding him despite the age that it needs to be the right deal. I mean, like you said, if a lot of other stuff doesn't really come to fruition, it's something you could turn to. It's something that should be on the table, but it's not something that you should be like, oh, well, you know what, the Mets near starting pitcher. Now let's move that top 10 prospect. Like, this isn't the deal I have in mind, but it's something that still should definitely be considered.
Yeah, obviously we know that like the certain volume that you can get from a guy like Mitch Keller, but with Edward Cabrera, I will say a lot of his short routes of the season, a lot of the times where he's been taken out of the game early before the fifth inning, a lot of them were in April this year. So recently he's been able to pitch into the sixth inning and give you that type of length, which I think is what the Mets need of a guy who can give you 2 to 3 run ball and can give you 6 or 7 innings possible, if that's possible. We know that we've gotten that from David Peterson. That's probably the main reason as to why he's in the All-Star game this year. But they also do need somebody else there to stabilize the rotation, especially with the concerns of guys like Kodai Senga, who has had injury concerns recently. We don't know what's going to go on with Sean Manaea. He's had a decent amount of setbacks as well. And, the rest of the rotation, take cover, I guess, because it seems like everybody is dropping dead at every point. So, again, I think that this would be a solid addition. I wouldn't be like, well, this is the guy at the top of my list right now. I would aim a little bit more to Mitch Keller, of just someone who definitely can add into what we need right now. I think the thing that I'm looking at is not really the point and emphasis and upside. I think it's somebody to kind of solidify things here of, well, I need to find myself a game 3 starter or game 4 starter for the postseason, which I think would be a little bit more towards Mitch Keller. That's what I would go a little bit more directing from. If I'm looking at for the future and controllable pieces down the line of guys who could contribute and be really good, Edward Cabrera would be one of those. But we will see how all of that turns out. I think the Marlins have had little trades with us, but nothing too big. Huskar Brazaban was one of them. Obviously, that seemed to be the one that paid off, but that was relievers. And that was on deadline day, I think. We got Huskar Brazaban on deadline day, and that started off a little bit rough as well. So I don't know what would be the asking for that. Main reason why I asked the chat in the poll here of guys who you would be willing to trade at the deadline of the young players, because we all know that somebody from the young surplus is going to be dipped into if they do make a major move. And obviously, with most of these guys underperforming, 29% of you are saying Brett Beatty, 54% of you are saying Luis Angel Acuna, 18% of you are saying Mark Vientos, which kind of goes in the order of what they have shown at the major league level. Mark Vientos has shown the most. He has the least of desire to trade. Beatty has shown the second most, and then obviously Luis Angel Acuna, who has not really shown that much, especially this year, where he has struggled at the plate. So it's very weird, but let's not forget there was a report. I don't know when it was 3 years ago. I don't know. There was a report that the Marlins were interested in Brett Beatty. There was a report. I don't know how serious it was, but I do think that if you're going for Cabrera, I think it would come at the cost of Brett Beatty, possibly at the trajectory that he has gone. If it only costs Brett Beatty to get me Edward Cabrera, I'm doing it, obviously. And I'm not going to sit here and hesitate and say, well, this guy could be he's 25 years old. Enough already. I think there is more that has to be said, of course, with how do they deal out these young guys, because I do think there is going to be someone who is dealt in that young surplus, whether it is in the major league or the upper levels. We'll see how that looks. But again, young pieces going forward. Brett Beatty, he has control through 2030, 2029, 2029. He has control through. So that's probably somebody that the Marlins would be looking at. I mean, we know that they've looked at it before. However, The Marlins are a different regime now. They have a different regime as compared to when that news story came out. So that's something that you also can consider. But who goes, who stays, we'll see. I don't know, Frank, if you have any idea of what that would be, because it's just the value has tanked for a lot of these guys. And then also who's interested in who and who are they going after? What part of the surplus are they willing to part with that they have not been willing to do just yet?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on what is moved for other players, like not named Edward Cabrera. So a lot of times it's like a market needs to be determined. And last year in particular, I mean, you saw rental starting pitchers. The Marlins were a part of it with Rogers trading him to the Orioles, where you have guys. I mean, he had 2 years of control, and he wasn't even all that. And still, they got a tremendous haul for him. We know starting pitching is the most expensive thing you can get in a trade. Controllable starting pitching, young starting pitching, like no matter what, it's going to cost something. Like you're not just going to get it easy. So we'll see what the market is like. I mean, this whole extra wild cards, like we said, we don't know who's selling, we don't know who's buying. It can make things weird. I mean, people could get desperate. Maybe there's not as many players available because everyone's trying to compete. Like it's just it. We don't know quite yet what the cost is going to be. It kind of varies year to year. But in general, a young starting pitcher who's playing well with team control and the Marlins, it's going to cost you quite a bit of young talent for sure.
Probably. It definitely will. But again, I'm not going to sit here and blink. Like I won't blink a single eye, to be honest. If they were get rid of Beatty and it's just like, oh yeah, he'll figure it out somewhere else. Okay, let him figure it out on the Marlins, and the Marlins will sit there as a last place team, and the Marlins will sit here behind the Mets because they will never have a team that is good as the Mets, and I can be confident saying that. And he'll destroy us in September or whatever, and the Marlins will not get better because of it, because they are ran like a circus. So again, it's one of those points of, is the team good because of it, and does it make the team better? And on the other side of, well, I regret giving this guy up, but the team still sucks. Like the team that they're still on is still not good. So what does that make it look like? There is one trade that the Mets seem to want to get back at this current moment of how well he's been doing with the Cubs, obviously, with the Cubs being one of the teams in contention and the way that they've kind of rebuilt themselves over these last few years. But again, it all really just has to do with, okay, do the Mets win with this piece? Does this happen? Like nobody was blinking an eye on a trade such as, Yoenis Cespedes, who took us to the World Series in that way. Nobody was blinking an eye of saying, well, Michael Fulmer won Rookie of the Year. Okay, where did the Tigers go? Nowhere. So that's kind of how I view it as of, well, we're going to regret trading these young guys and trading them away. Like, what is it going to do for that team? The Marlins, I know, are going to stink for a long time. I know they will. I know they will stink. And no matter how hot they have been recently, come on. We know that's not a good team. We know it isn't. And we know it's not going to be a good team for a while. Will I regret saying that? Probably, because, everything I put out there turns into an entire explosion. But we'll see what happens there. But the pitching market is definitely something that we're going to monitor throughout the entirety before the trade deadline, see what happens. I think that the relievers are going to go first. I think we will be talking about, in these next 2 episodes of our show, a reliever trade that the Mets made. Because I think at that point, they are going to make some adjustment there, because even with the rotation full right now with Senga and Minaya coming back, the bullpen still needs a little bit of help right now. And whether it's, Budo coming back, or I don't know if we're going to get an update on Danel Nunez. I don't think he's coming back this season. They still do need to make some adjustments with this bullpen. And we know that they're going to have to add some guys through the trade deadline and through the trade market with relievers, and I think that it's coming close as to them making a move such as the Stanek caliber or the Maton caliber that they did last year, and we'll see what the return is on that. What was it on Stanek? It was Ryland Thomas, I think. He went to Seattle.
Yeah, it wasn't anything too crazy, and Stanek was really struggling before the Mets acquired him. They were getting him while he was having a bad season.
Yeah, they bought low. They bought low on it, and then he was really good for them in the postseason. He struggled when he was here at first. And then Maton, I think, was just cash considerations, right? Was that just cash? Like, yeah, that's the thing. So we'll see, how those bargain deals end up having with the reliever side. But I will say that, if we're at the same level of what they did last year, I'm going to be disappointed. I am going to be very disappointed because, like I said, with Juan Soto on your roster, you can't be giving me a starting pitcher of the caliber of Paul Blackburn. That should not be happening. You shouldn't be giving me a bat of the caliber of Jesse Winker. You got to aim a little bit higher than that. That's when I'll start to have my first frustration with Stearns. Right now, there's not really much that he can do. Guys are dropping dead. Consistency's dropping dead. I mean, there's nothing that they can really do at this current moment. It's getting close, but right now there's not really much that they can do. And it all really just has to do as well with this bullpen of, what is the timeline for some of these guys? We know Brooks Raley could be coming back in the next coming weeks. Who knows? A decision will eventually be made. We said in that update. And then Max Kranick is getting close to starting to throw. I know that I had that report last time. And then I don't know what the hell's going on with Jose Budo. I don't know if he just licked a sidewalk and got sick, but who knows? With all these injuries that have been going on, we haven't even had a single update with him. He just completely disappeared off the face of the earth. So we'll see how they make those adjustments at the trade deadline, but pitching is definitely going to be a point of emphasis. Some people asking some stuff about the deadline here. Sanders saying in the chat, saying that the Mets need two top-notch relievers, Aroldis Chapman and Felix Bautista. I think, I don't know if I don't think that they can get both of them. I think one of them is a possibility in Felix Bautista with what the Orioles are in at the current moment. The Red Sox, I think, are still competing. I also want to kind of stay away from Aroldis Chapman because you bring him in for the postseason, and we know that he has done in the postseason. There's been some rough moments from him, and I don't need to see that. Maybe it wouldn't be with him in the closer role as compared to what Diaz would be doing in the postseason, but I still would kind of stay away from that because he's had a tendency to kind of flame out towards the end of the season. That's just kind of been one of those things that has happened with him. Either way, that's what I wanted to see with the Red Sox. The Red Sox are still in contention right now. I think they're like a half game out of the wild card right now, aren't they? Or a half game out of that second wild card. So they're in the third wild card right now. So they're still competing. The Orioles are definitely far down out of it.
I mean, listen, they won the series against the Mets and been playing better recently. Did. So, I mean, who knows? If they continue to win some games, they might. That's the thing with these wild cards.
They're
you might, and listen, they're up 4-0 right now on the Marlins that we were just talking about.
Oh,
so,
boy.
Here they come. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're in a completely different spot in the next week. Who knows? That's the thing. You have some teams that are still competing as of right now that probably won't be auctioning off these pieces that are going to be pending free agents. And then you also have, you also have teams like Baltimore, which they don't know yet. They have no idea because they're 6.5 games out of the wild card. Will they make a push for it? Likelihood they will most likely be below 500 by the trade deadline, but you never know. They've played better, like we said, that we just lost a series to them. So who knows? I think that they are going to get one, high-level guy that'll try to replace AJ Minter caliber, and there might be another depth piece for the bullpen. I think that if there is, somebody said in the chat, they said, I think there will be 4 additions. What I'm hoping for is, on the wish list right now, is a high-profile reliever, a depth reliever, a middle of the rotation starter, like we said, to stabilize the rotation, and then a bat in the third base department or the center field department. That's what I would say as
not a DH,
additions.
A true DH. I mean, Winker, we can't trust him.
I don't know.
I mean, he still is not even a true DH himself.
We'll
I
see.
still think you can't trust that. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's all up to Mark Vientos. But it's all up to Mark Vientos if he's gonna and it's not looking good. So I don't know. I would
better get going because boy.
Yeah, and to be honest, I just see the Mets saying, "Oh well, Marte will be back." That's it.
That's like a trade deadline acquisition. He'll be back after the All-Star
He'll be
break.
like a trade, just like Brooks Raley. So they'll have nothing to do. They don't have to get anything for the bullpen because Brooks Raley's going to come back.
Yeah, and ideally
he's
you
gonna
would
come
like
back.
a lefty because of what happened
Sure.
with Peterson the other night. You lost Minter, you lost Danny Young, so like
Yeah.
you would like to get a lefty if you while you're addressing that bullpen if you could. At this point, you just want guys that will stay healthy and could be effective for you, but you would like to get a lefty in there.
Yeah, because if you're sitting here waiting for Jose Siri to come back, then you're really in
and
the
he
dumps.
He had a setback himself, so
yeah, it's likely he's not coming back.
Too, is that like they brought Siri as like addition, like a new player that's technically in the lineup. He's never been a great offensive player though, so even if Siri was healthy, like if people are concerned that the Mets offense is top heavy and they're not getting much from the bottom half of the order, like Siri does not fix that.
A lot of it has to do with with the young guys underperforming. Yes. You know, especially like guys like Vientos. Beatty's been in and out. Acuna's been giving you nothing.
At least Vientos was really good last season. And I mean, with Beatty, we still don't know. Alvarez has been hit or miss. Acuna, we only had like 14 games.
The only rough part of him being a liability, Vientos, right now is the fact that he's out of minor league options. And if he doesn't hit, he's giving you nothing.
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing.
Yeah. The glove is
and that's the rough part about it.
Like, yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough.
I mean, I've talked about Vientos of what I feel like might be going on in the last episode, but I don't want to get fully on into it. But as things continue, we'll see what happens as these next couple weeks, because it is going to be interesting. We are 20 days away from that deadline, I believe. It is July 31st So we're getting close, and then obviously we'll be live for those last hours of it. So it should be a blast when that happens, and I'm sure we'll have some special guests on there when that happens. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up, obviously. So we'll see. But obviously, we got to start doing this after we just full-on recap the series, so it's fresh in our mind. But let's go to studs and duds. One player in this series that was good, one that was not. We had a fun comeback in Game 1, and then the last two in the doubleheader was not a fun viewing process. So this should be a mixed bag of some things. We'll start with stud. Frank, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to the guy that, again, I feel like he really got screwed in this series, David Peterson. I mean, he really gave them a solid start. And you feel like it feels to me that if you had Pearson pitch that eighth inning, like you have a better chance of the game being tied at worst than being down 3-1 like when Stanek did. So it was just really frustrating because like he was on his way to literally carrying the Mets to a win, and it still didn't happen. But his great performance shouldn't go unnoticed and unrecognized.
Yeah, definitely. Again, he had a great start, obviously bouncing back from a few rough starts that he had. But I mean, again, he was putting us in a position to win with the offense doing basically nothing. And that was pretty much in. A guy that I feel like was good in all three of these games was Brandon Nimmo. Obviously, the Fab Four was being coined after that one game, and then ever since then we're 0-2.
Real original, by the way. I mean, we've never heard that before.
Yeah, we never heard that before.
It's supposed to be a Fab Five, but the Mets don't have five.
Nah. Yeah, the Fab Four was the Fab Four the Beatles, right? Because Andy Martino had that creepy.
Oh, well, I mean, forget about Andy Martino. I'm talking about in sports. It's mostly basketball.
Oh, the Fab Five. Oh, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay.
Forget what Andy Martino says. He's comparing music to
he's got the
baseball,
freaking Beatle dolls behind him, creeping me out.
He always does. I mean,
yeah. Let's see. You had Nimmo in this series was 3 for 15. A double. He had he's helped. What was it? Stage in the comeback? Yeah, a little bit in that first game.
He got on
setting the table a little bit. But no, he looks a lot more like Nimmo, and that's a good thing. The only thing that's down from it has been the walks, which we want to see him jog to first base more. But other than that, he seems to be back into the swing of Brandon Nimmo things. Now, speaking of swinging to the other end of the. What are we saying? The end of the rope? I don't know. Duds of this series, there's one that's very easy to point out here, obviously, but there was a few. Frank, I'll go to
Yeah,
you.
I mean,
Right back to you.
I already ranted about those guys, so I'm going to give it to someone else. I'm going to give it to McNeil. I just feel that the offense, he's been struggling a little bit lately, and with him playing center field, it's like he needs to give me offense because you know he's not giving you defense. So it's like he's there, he plays center field for offense, and it's like we talked about like earlier Marte. It's like even if McNeil does give you something, it's like a single. And again, he's batting at a part of the order in that 5 hole behind Alonso, where it's like ideally that's where a power hitter goes. And I know a lot of it is roster construction. We have a whole lineup, well, not a whole line, but we have a bunch of guys who are table setters, top of the order type bats. But I mean, this is his job right now is to bat after Alonso. He's not going to get it done. I believe for the line that was supposed to happen tonight, they had Vientos batting behind Alonso. So it's like, since McNeil is like kind of struggling, it's like, oh, let's go to the guy who's on the verge of like being fired from the team to bat after Alonso. So like that is another thing that they still have not been able to figure out too, is that 5 spot, because as Cohen said, the Fab 4, because he didn't mention McNeil.
Yeah.
So
He
also, he deserves some blame in there.
Yeah, he's just not as fabulous, I guess.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, McNeil in the month of what was it? The beginning of the beginning of that Pittsburgh series or whatever? Like he's slowed down a little bit, but he's had a few. He had a few good games in the Subway Series, which I think I tipped my cap to him on that one. But McNeil's been up and down since the batting title. Yeah, the batting title really got to his head, and that's when he got to become a very egotistical man. I mean, you obviously got to put Stanek in that category. What the fuck was that, dude? That was terrible. 4 batters, obviously, but more of Mendoza's doing of leaving him in as long as he did. Let's see. There was some other some shoddy defense from Brett Beatty in this series, but he actually hit okay in this series, so I'm not going to put him completely under it because we all know that the main asset originally was supposed to be the bat from Brett Beatty. So to see him hit a little bit better in this series was fine. Yeah, it was a rough doubleheader for Alonso. He came up with quite a few opportunities, was one of the culprits with runners in scoring position. Yeah, it seemed like, again, like that top 4 in the lineup, it was a big stage for the comeback of what we needed, of one of your main guys coming through the way that they did. But in that's the doubleheader. I mean, it's basically the same problems we've been seeing all year. Inconsistencies with runners in scoring position, the approach at the plate, the constant premium offense of this is the best that they can do in these certain situations that they should be capitalizing on. So that's pretty much it. So do we have a start time for this game at all?
Nope.
But I just saw
it shouldn't be long, but
yeah,
it is delayed.
Yeah, okay, so Mets Weather on Twitter just said a minute ago, saying, sorry for the lack of update, was driving, rain is wrapping up in Kansas City, should get a start time soon. So it probably will be maybe 8:45. Yeah, something around there. So we have a little bit of time before that starts. I was getting a little nervous that we had only a half-hour window and us yapping as much as we can, and especially with how eventful this series was. I was kind of scared of what we could fit in, but it's whatever. Let's get into this upcoming series, which eventually will start if the rain can permit it. But we have a little bit of time to run this one down in Kansas City. Mets versus Royals, a 2015 rematch. Can you believe that was 10 years ago? Jeez. Anyways. And of course, that World Series got canceled. It was not played. Let's get into this preview. That third game, I'll fill in what was. There's a little bit of an update to that third game. But anyways, game one. Kodai Senga will make his return from the injured list, looking to pick up where he left off from his brilliant start to 2025. He will face the once a Met for 60 days, Michael Wacha. First pitch is tonight. It was supposed to be at 8:10. Maybe it'll be 8:45 with rain permitting. This will be on SNY. Game 2, Frankie Montas will get his 4th start as a Met. He'll face the veteran right-hander Michael Lorenzen. First pitch is tomorrow afternoon at 4:10 Eastern Time on SNY. Game 3, Sean Manaea will make his long-awaited return to the Mets rotation, but it will be started off with Clay Holmes to keep him in that starter's rhythm, and Manaea will come out of the bullpen for that first outing, but I'm sure that they will configure it once the All-Star game resets everything. And they will face the rookie southpaw Noah Cameron, who is off to a great start to his career. First pitch is Sunday afternoon at 2:10, because this is Central Times, Eastern Time on Pix 11. So we have some pitching matchups here that we feel a little bit better about compared to what we had, I don't know, a week ago. I'm pretty sure when we had Hagenman and Waddell lined up in a series against the Yankees. So this is definitely great. It's like a trade deadline acquisition, as we would say. But again, going into this Royals team, again, they are mediocre-ish this year from what I've seen. I haven't really been paying attention to a lot in the American League. I can't lie that much, but they're pretty much hovering around 500, right?
Yeah, they got off to then similar to Orioles, they got off to a slow start, but they've been playing better recently. They've been heating up, so the Mets caught them at the wrong time too.
No, well, anyways, some things obviously we know. Bobby Witt, one of the best shortstops in all of baseball, what he's blossomed into these last few years. I know that he's taken a little bit of a step back, but from the season that he had last year, I mean, it's nearly impossible to replicate what he did last year.
He's still at 50 OPS. I mean,
yeah, he still has been really, really good.
He's
last year, I think he was
with the legs, 25 steals, 31 doubles. I mean, he's still in almost 300. Like
all 5 totals.
WAR over 4. Like he still makes things happen on the diamond, no matter what.
Yeah, I think. Vinny Pasquantino has been a little bit better recently, but he, I don't know, is he active right now?
He is. Yeah, I believe he is, from what I saw.
Their big draft pick, Jack Caglione, has struggled so far since his debut.
I mean, he's a rookie. He got called up like right away. He was not. He was not in the minors for long, but he has a lot of power. So even though he struggled, he does have the 4 home runs, and it's like if you mess up, he could crush it. I mean, so you never know when all of a sudden it's going to click for him.
He's a freak.
Yeah,
he's 100% a freak. We know they have, I think
Salvador Perez.
I mean,
we obviously can't forget him.
Yeah.
Who?
Mark Canha's on that team, right?
Yes, Mark Canha is on the team.
Say hi to our old friend. Anyways, Michael Garcia has blossomed into one of the best third basemen in all of baseball.
Former Met killer.
That's Michael Franco, I think.
No, Garcia too.
Garcia too? Oh, never mind. Okay.
As well. Actually, maybe not.
Yeah,
he's
Salvador
young,
Perez.
I'm just gonna assume that he's gonna be a Met killer, just because.
Yeah, probably. Who knows? There's a lot of third basemen and corner outfielder that destroy us. Speaking of, Hunter Renfroe as well is on that team.
Yes.
Was on that team. Jonathan India has had a really rough season since being traded over there. Salvador Perez, is he finally slowing down? I don't know.
We'll see. I mean,
he's going to face the Mets though, so we already know there's going to be about 4 home runs in this series from him.
Turn back the clock.
He always turns back the clock against us. They've had a lot of young pieces struggle this year, kind of similar to us, but they don't have.
Struggled.
Yeah. Drew Waters, Kyle Isbell has been a little bit disappointing this year too. I think didn't they bring in like Kevin Biggio too or something?
Yes, he is.
They've had a decent amount as well. They're going to miss Chris Bubic, who has been really, really good this year.
And
has been a workhorse for them. And they're going to miss Lugo as well. Michael Wacha, Ricardo saying in the chat, really think Michael Wacha is a guy to watch as far as the trade deadline for a Stearns guy. I don't know what the deal is with that contract, but Noah Cameron, like we said, really good. Their starting pitching has been solid this year.
6-man rotation.
They have they've had a 6-man rotation. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure their worst starter this year has actually been Cole Reagans,
who was supposed to be one of the best.
who was supposed to be one of their top guys
Yeah.
that they got in return for Chapman. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the bullpen has some of the weapons.
Estevez just
Obviously,
got
Carlos
added to the
Estevez.
All-Star game
Yep.
today, so he's in there.
Lucas Urseg, one of my boys I
Woo!
wanted the Mets to trade for last year. Boy, he
Yes.
is disgusting. So yeah, there's definitely some guys there. I don't know if Hunter Harvey is active as of right now, but he was potentially on the table for Starling Marte
He's on the
in the
60-day injury
offseason.
list, so
Yeah.
no.
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe we made the right decision. I don't know.
Yeah, they're both
But yeah,
underperforming.
yeah. So the pitching overall for the Royals has been good. I know that their offense has struggled a lot this year. They haven't been inconsistent like the Mets. They've just been overall underperforming. Like that's basically been their situation. Like I pretty sure like they are. Yeah, they're 27th in overall offense as of right now. They have a team weighted runs created plus of 84. And the only thing that they don't do is they don't strike out that much. That's pretty much it. They put the ball in play. So let's hope that our defense can save us. Yeah. But again, it's the Mets. This is a team that I think we all know that they could beat, but it's all really about the Mets not playing down to competition and not screwing around. That's all that I ask for. Some players to watch in this series. I think the spotlight to Kodai Senga, obviously, hoping that he's healthy after this start, doesn't pull anything, he's fine. From the Mets side, there is someone who has a really good career against Michael Lorenzen. I don't know who it is, but I will look it up. But Frank, if there's any other notes that you want to add on this upcoming series.
Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping that the offense was going to turn around after the Yankees series and game one of the Orioles series. But then the last two games, I mean, we saw them go back to the struggling with the run scoring position. And like you said, the Royals rotation has been solid this year. So it's a it's a pitcher's ballpark in Kansas City. And also, I'm kind of curious to see, like, with this being Sanga's first start back, like the rain delay, we still don't have a time yet. Like, how does that factor into game? Because you don't want to risk another injury here. He's just so important that I do think they have to be a little careful here with Senga. That like if all of a sudden he's out there, he's not really feeling great. You got to think of the big picture here. So that's something I'm interested in too, because we saw the last rain delay they had where they tried to stick with their starter and he couldn't go past second inning. They pulled him. So I am kind of curious to see how that goes. I mean, I'd rather they do it like this where once the game starts, like that is the game. You don't start it to stop it right away. So, if they have to wait till then, and again, like you said, it's a little easier with the central time, maybe. But overall, I am kind of curious about that too, because like I said, we still don't have a time yet.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here. I don't know. It doesn't seem like that player is on the team anymore. Maybe it was Daniel Vogelbach, and we let him go. How dare we? But it's whatever. We know that Michael Wacha's been in the game for quite a while. He was a Met for a second, and he's reinvented his game in the veteran stages of his career. And we have a few former Mets on that team. Like I said, Mark Canha's on that team. We have Lugo. We have White Wacha, if you want to count him as a former Met. He was here for 60 games. Let's see. There was somebody else that we mentioned that is on this team.
No, we said
Canha.
So I think we got them.
I'm pretty sure Richard Lovelady was on there.
Yes, that sounds right.
So, yeah, that sounds about right. Let's just let's see. There was just one more thing that I wanted to point out here that was in here. Hold on. I forgot to star it. I don't know. I can't find it. Maybe it's just lost in the abyss. I have no clue. But I think we're going to wrap it up here before the 2 hour mark. Obviously, we've got a game that'll probably be played eventually. It looks like, I don't know if we have a time yet, but we were able to
Not
push
yet.
it a little bit compared to what we were expecting, which was a 8 o'clock first pitch, which would probably be like 8:45 or whatever. But other than that, Frank, if there's anything else that you want to say, some closing remarks, welcome back, by the way. It's been,
Oh, thank
what
you.
was it? It's been a good week since you've been on the show. So welcome back.
Yeah, long time, and let's see. This it's an interesting one because, like we said, you are getting ready for the deadline. So some guys really got to figure it out, and they have to decide, like, because like we mentioned, you don't want to go into the deadline needing multiple things. Like, that is just
Yeah.
not ideal. Like, oh, we would like relievers and some starters and a few position players. Like, that's a lot to ask, and it's crazy to say with the team that like still has the record that they do. They're still competitive in the division, but a lot of it's because of how they were playing before and not now, and all the injuries that have happened since then. So it's more so a matter of like, you, no matter what happens, you still want to try to get depth because you don't know who else might go down. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of like, now that we got two pitchers healthy, like we said, hopefully it kind of cleans things up. I think the other thing you might want to mention was that like Mania is not starting Sunday. It's going to be Clay Holmes. And then,
Yeah.
like we talked about earlier with Holmes, it's like, are you going to pull him after 5 this time because Mania needs to work? Or is it you going to go like 4? Because like that's going to be
Yeah.
another really interesting thing too. Is that,
There's plenty. Yeah, there's plenty of options on that last game because again, they
yeah,
have 4 days off afterwards. So
right. So
we'll see.
they could
Yeah.
go a few different ways, but I mean, once it all settles, it's like if you do have Manai back full time, you have Senga back full time, it should clean up some of these other things that we are seeing with, like you said, the Hagemans making starts and Warren, and you had Waddell. Like, it, hopefully this it starts to kind of normalize a little bit with the way it's going.
Yeah, and that was the main reason as to why I was just going through the motions for that month of the pitching because they just were waiting for guys to just basically come back, and there was no really many changes that they could make, like we were saying earlier on. But Sangha, Manaya, welcome back. Please stay healthy this time. Stay here. We need you. It would be great. I don't want to see any extra. We didn't do enough at the deadline because we have more injuries that we have to tend to. So, Sangha, Manaya, stay healthy. Also, the rest of the rotation, stay healthy. Don't just say, "Oh well, these guys are done being hurt. Let me be hurt now." Sandman Games in the chat saying, "What time is the game?" It was supposed to be 8:10. We still don't have an official. Let's see. Let's see if the Royals posted anything. No, still nothing yet. But I'm sure we'll get something around something because again they're an hour behind us. So if it's a 9 o'clock start, it'll be an 8 o'clock start for them. So we'll see what goes on there. But other than that, I think we are going to end it off here. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to not miss when we go live. Follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's post games, which are titled the Mets Frankly Post Game. Follow all of us individually, including our third Mike Andrew, who is not here. And finally, of course, whenever this game starts, let's go Mets, and we will see you guys next time.